From the WATE.com Digital Center, answering your legal questions, this is Ask Isaacs. Now, here's Lori Tucker and attorney Greg Isaacs.
Hello. We're so glad you're with us today. Always good to see you, Greg.
Lori, pleasure to be here.
Here's what we're talking about today, and you actually came up with this line: big winners, big losers, big changes. So I gave you proper credit.
You did after I complained off air.
Yes, you did. Okay, here's what we're talking about today: the NCAA transfer portal. The NCAA close to changing the rules in a pretty big fashion. So let's talk about what's going on right now.
Well, the Wild Wild West that we call the NIL, has been evolving, and at the center, the eye of the hurricane has been Nico Iamaleava. Remember when Tennessee, in a landmark case, sued the NCAA?
Yep.
Over their threatening of sanctions based on the NIL deal with Nico when he was in high school. Fast forward. Now, this is what's at issue now. In the spring transfer portal, Nico, for lack of a better word, tried to hijack, extort the volunteers to pay him some more money. We said, hit the road, Nico. And lo and behold,
he did.
And it did. And it was interesting. The backstory was once you enter the portal, you can do one or two things. You have unlimited time to choose your school, but sometimes it says do not contact. Well, when Nico entered the transfer portal, he said, don't bother calling, whatever. He had already been tampered by UCLA. So that's interesting. And the way that Nico...
And he ended up losing money.
At the end of the orange and white game, at the very, weeks before the beginning of the season, there was a large outcry. And I think Nico Iamaleava is, again, the reason for a big change in NIL.
That is so interesting. And let's bring you up to date on what's happening here. A decision is expected before October. They're apparently really close on whether to eliminate the spring transfer window, replaced by one window, and that's in the winter. So what impact will this have on players?
Well, it's going to significantly change the landscape. Last year, there were 1,000 players that entered the spring portal. But here's what you're going to do. Here's some of the key takeaways and the big losers. What's going to happen is graduates and undergraduates are going to have the same time frame. And it's going to be at, I don't even know why they call it the winter transfer portal, but the transfer portal is going to be singular. And we're sitting here trying to win a national championship. We don't have time to try to protect players, to try to handpick our next, team for next year.
No time to do their homework because they've been so busy up until that point. There is an exception here, right? The immediate 30-day transfer window when a school has announced a head coaching change.
That is basically now going to be the only exception as we talk about key takeaways. And this year, this anomaly has arisen twice. It's arisen at UCLA, where Nico Iamaleava is the quarterback. It's arisen at Virginia Tech. And what it does, if there's a change in the head coach, it gives players 30 days to enter the portal. Exception from the old spring portal, the winter portal. So, for example, players at Virginia Tech, players at UCLA now have 30 days to enter the transfer portal before these changes become final. Even if they do become final, they're always going to have this 30-day window. And think about it, you're young, you've been recruited by a coach has come, had dinner with your family, you have this trust factor, or else you have this money factor.
I was going to say you're seeing dollar signs at the dinner table.
Yes, or
that's where we are.
McDonald's bag.
That's a thing of the past,
right?
Thing
of the past in Tennessee. But so you'll have the 30-day. But here's what's going to happen. The players are the big losers because they can't extort teams, jump in the spring.
Extort or get creative.
Get creative.
Okay.
Well, let's say this. Test the free market.
There you go. There you go.
Now, think about how prolific the NIL was just last year. And this is a new creation. This Nico Iamaleava phenomenon with UTC and the NCAA was just a few years ago in district court in Greenville, Tennessee. And here's the way, and we've talked about this, how it was intended. They were supposed to be paid for their name, image, and likeness,
Right.
and paid for scholarships and appearances. And then it just was like a bad idea on steroids. It went crazy. And Lori, as we're talking about key takeaways, let's pause for a minute, because this just gives you an idea of how the NCAA and the courts, now we'll talk about the House settlement too that's changed NIL.
Big time, but I know where you're going with this. You're talking dollars. That some of these players are making, and one, the most famous one of all right now, everybody watches him. He made $3.8 million before ever playing a game, and you know who we're talking about.
Good old Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Carson Beck, one of our foes from Georgia, hit the portal, went to Miami. He's making $4.3 million. And, you know, it's interesting when you look at where Arch Manning was setting the bench behind yours at Texas. His last year, if he'd have played this year, his NIL would have been about $7 million. He goes, I believe, either the fifth, sixth, or maybe even later in the NFL draft, is making less as a professional athlete than if he would have stayed at Texas.
That is so interesting. And let's bring back Nico for a second, because at some point, $8 million was next to his name.
At some
now
point,
it's down to $2.
It's down to $2, and that was kind of his yearly deal. But, you know, when you juxtapose, and you know, it was kind of like swapping spouses, to use a bad metaphor.
What?
When you know,
Where are you going with
UCLA
this?
took Nico, the only quarterback we could find was Aguilar, who had committed from Appalachian State to UCLA. And what a change in fortune and circumstances. Tennessee
I love his story.
once again comes out ahead with NIL. Aguilar is setting record after record. UCLA has yet to win a game. DeShaun Foster, their coach, has been fired. So,
And let's look at the big picture here, too. When it comes to what really matters in your life is your name. At the beginning of that name, image, and likeness.
Well,
and Nico's name has been tarnished by all of
It's
this,
been
big time.
been tarnished. But, you know, when we talk about these the rules and this Wild Wild West phenomenon, just look at the quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, $3.7 million.
Same with Lenora Sellers out of Southern Cal.
Ryan Williams, wide receiver from Bama, $2.7 million. It goes on and on and on. And when you're talking about NIL, you are talking about big dollars.
So having said that, what about lawsuits? Are they anticipated because it limits the player's earning potential now? What would be the legal pushback?
Well,
if any?
the legal pushback, let's begin at the beginning. And the reason NIL took off, the legal theory was that it created an unlawful restraint or an unfair competitive advantage and violated the Sherman Antitrust Act, it being the NCAA's prohibition about playing collegiate athletes. So now, when they've significantly limited this portal to a few days after the college football series, and if you're in the CFB, you get 5 extra days. So athletes are going to say, hey, I didn't get to test the waters in the spring. I didn't get to do this. I didn't get to do that. So they're saying that my earning potential has been limited. So I bet you're going to see a flurry of lawsuits once this becomes final in a few weeks.
Do they have a legal leg to stand on? Just
Well,
looking at it.
If you look at the big picture, you know, Congress is going to have to act. And I think, you know, there's been a bill that's been floating around. You know, as long as someone can pound the table and claim that the NCAA is creating an unfair restraint on free trade. Look, last year, if I transferred in the spring, I could have made this. This year, I can't. So I'm making that. So
Will collectives get involved?
Collectives, and let's talk about the House settlement. Collectives have changed dramatically. And let's talk, you know, when we talk about the ever-changing landscape of NIL, the House settlement that we've talked about before has fundamentally changed NIL. And what it did, it now allows universities to pay athletes directly. You don't have to go through a collective. Collectives are now limited to managing and paying players for their name, image, likeness. Universities have a salary cap of money that they can divide up among all of their athletes. And also players that played after 2016 forward.
Retroactive.
Get a retroactive NIL bump. You know, we had Todd Kelly Jr. on the program, and, you know, lo and behold, surprising to us, he just
Breaking
said...
news right here.
Breaking news. Hey, I just got mine.
We both went, our eyes got this big. Oh,
Right.
do tell. How
And-
much?
And the payout this is $1 billion settlement.
Yeah.
Like $1.6 billion. And, you know, they pay it out over 10 years. But that changed the landscape. But now you're seeing this evolve where they're trying to get control. But see, here's the ever-changing dynamic legally. And again, we talked about the most important player on the field now that NIL has arisen isn't the coaches, isn't the quarterbacks, it's the attorneys to try to find ways to manipulate around this.
Well, you're a lawyer, not an offensive coordinator, so what's the courtroom connection? Let's talk more about that.
Let's do. Are we going to take a break?
I think we might in a second. Can we take a break? All right, welcome back, everybody. We are talking about the NCAA transfer portal, how it may be changing. The vote is really close on getting rid of the spring portal and just having a winter one. And Greg, we really want to hone in so people understand who stands to win the most, who stands to lose.
Big changes, big losers, big winners.
Yeah.
Big losers, players, because they can't transfer and extort the timing of a spring transfer portal. Big winners are JUCO players, because now when they graduate in May, they will get a head start on being able to negotiate
Boy, I bet
their
they're
deal.
really watching this closely.
Yeah. Big loser is everybody, because what it does, it incentivizes tampering, a la, we think, UCLA and Nico.
Because the window has been narrowed, obviously.
And it's because it's like you don't
Or will
punish
be.
somebody. There's really no consequence or no enforcement. So,
Yeah.
you know, why wouldn't you tamper with an athlete? So that's going to be it. But to me, you ask before we went to break, well, where did the lawyers and the lawsuits come in? This incentivizes people to find ways to work around the transfer portal
Right.
NIL system.
How do
And
they do that, though?
Well, we've seen it. We saw it this year. Wisconsin player had a 2-year NIL agreement. 2 weeks after enrolling, he unenrolls. Suddenly, he don't go through the portal.
No.
Doesn't
He
ask
goes
permission
just
from the NCAA.
academically.
He just goes and walks into the University of Miami.
Hi, I'm a regular student.
Yeah, and just enrolls and just says, hey, I hear you got a football team, and then not walks on as a walk-on, but
Oh, they were
enters
thrilled. Come on
the
down.
program, and the NCAA didn't know what to do because he enrolled, didn't transfer, really never was a student at Wisconsin officially, never went to class.
So it was all about timing. So you're saying this kind of thing may happen more.
It may happen more.
Wow.
And this guy played on the opening game when Miami played LSU on the field, 5 tackles.
Having said that, though, wouldn't the NCAA, now that they're talking about this, having meetings, they've got another one to kind of finalize everything on this decision, aren't they taking that into consideration? But what could they do
you don't
to
know
mitigate that?
You don't know a loophole until you get looped. So,
Well, they got looped.
They got looped. So it's like when Nico tried to extort the Vols with the spring transfer portal window, even though he had a deal. You saw what happened a few months later.
Yeah.
They're saying, we're not going to let universities be held hostage by players. And there was also some back chatter, some backstory about a number of star players having these back channel meetings about why don't we all agree to see if we can up our NIL compensation as we're entering the college football playoffs. And, you know, having dealt with the NCAA, and you read their preamble, and their purpose is very flowery, and it's to facilitate and support the collegiate student athlete in ways that fosters academics, integrity, and good sportsmanship.
The whole person.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know, you see the Olympic flag in the background, and you want to hear classical music, and then now it's
Chariots
just
of
like,
Fire.
you know, so you got a bunch of college kids in the back room going, you know, playing Game Boy and Xbox. Hey, I think if we all did it at the same time, we can get an extra couple mil. I mean, it's again, we're not the ones that coined it. The wild, wild west that is NIL is still evolving, and this vote, again, every time there's a change in
There's
NIL,
Nico.
there's Nico.
There's Nico.
So he tried to sneak out in spring. They are slamming the door shut with this change.
Yeah, and there are 3 points of interest that I think it's so fascinating with Nico Iamaleava. That's a hard one still.
But you say it so well.
Oh, bless you. Could transfer to an SEC school.
Here's
couldn't
a question.
redshirt again.
People go.
I mean, there are all these rules.
Here's what I heard all weekend. Can Nico come back to the SEC and play? Can he transfer? Because he's within the
And he
30-day transfer window. So
Right.
3 things. One, he can. He because you know he went, and now there's the 30-day head coaching change window.
Right.
He could transfer to an SEC school, but because of SEC rules, he would have to sit out a year.
He couldn't play the current season.
He couldn't play the current season.
So there's no benefit.
Also, he couldn't redshirt because he redshirted at Tennessee.
Right.
So basically, you're losing an entire year of eligibility. So you're kind of stuck at UCLA. So so Vol fans, no worries. We will not see Nico after in the fall playing for Bama, Vandy. Well, of course, you know, with Diego at Vanderbilt, he was the poster child for JUCOs extending their NIL eligibility, and he's getting ready to file a lawsuit for, I think, year 7. I mean, it's literally
Wow.
lunacy how the NCAA cannot regulate something as simple as college athletics.
Now, you know, every time we talk about this, and I guess this is coming from a mom as well as a journalist, you look at these kids and you think, I hope you have someone guiding you with these dollars. Whether they're as much as you want or not, it's still a lot more than most have had in their lifetime. Do the colleges build that in? Does the NCAA
I ran into
provide that?
someone from a large sports management group and a collective, a premier out of California at the game a couple weeks ago, and he came by, and he said our biggest challenge is educating our clients that when the money comes in the front door, not to let it go out the back door just as quick as it comes in, and you know he said that you know we really work with the parents and try to send that, but then again you know when you drive down Neyland Stadium. When you and you could be Neyland, it could be Tuscaloosa, it could be whatever. I mean, the Bentleys, the Mazes are everywhere to be seen.
Suits, everything.
What's unfortunate is when you're paying $250,000 for a car and you don't go pro and your degree is in physical therapy or education. You know, that's money that you could have used as a nest egg. Or millions of dollars.
Let it make money.
Right.
You know, really invest it wisely.
You know, and what the other thing that we're seeing, unfortunately, is it's kind of like collegiate separate sovereigns. Separate sovereigns don't believe that the government has the power of taxation or whatever. I don't think kids can compute that once you get to that bracket of earning that you need to pay 40% to Uncle Sam and not take a trip on a private charter jet to the Bahamas for the weekend. So those are kind of things that you're seeing, but you need supervision. Parents need to be parents and not to be agents, and teach them how to be good people, stewards of their money. And you know the other thing that I think is going by the wayside is you're stewards of your name, image, and likeness. And you know the universities, whether it's Knoxville, Tuscaloosa, whether it's Columbus, Ohio, they are giving you such an opportunity and there's such loyal fan support. You're a steward of that goodwill, and you need to reciprocate and, conduct your business and yourself.
Hold yourself high
Yeah,
standards.
for all the other players that are coming up. But, NIL just doesn't stop now at college. Someone told me that there's a SEC school. I won't mention this because I've not confirmed the source, but is paying high school athletes $20,000 a month just to make them happy so they can commit to this particular school to sign even the bigger paycheck. So, imagine being a parent and trying to teach humility, good stewardship, financial conservatism, acumen, but
when that money could benefit the family.
you know what?
A lot of people see that.
It's a reflection of society.
Yeah.
But it's also a reflection of the wild, wild west that is NIL, and we're going to see changes.
Crazy
And
times.
then we're going to see someone's going to do something crazy like unenroll and enroll somewhere else, and we're going to plug up that loophole.
They're going to meet again.
Nico's going to try to transfer somewhere, and we're going to, it's like a cockroach quarterback. You can't kill it. You can't step on it.
Nico,
It just,
we're watching.
It just shows up everywhere. But once again, I'm confident one of the overarching reasons that this law, this not law, but this rule change, it's one vote away, is going to happen, is because of the nature of Nico's transfer to UCLA.
All right. There we go. We're going to leave it at that. We'll talk more coming up at 5:30.
Let's do it.
Thanks for being with us.